Today I fucked up by answering a call from an unknown number. I always answer calls from unknown callers. Not sure why, I guess it feels like my ticket to adventure and mystery. This habit almost always works out fine. It's typically a wrong number call. I'll pick up the phone, say hello, and the person apologizes and hangs up. But lately I've been getting a lot of spam calls about some car I don't own. Almost every other day they call me, and it gets annoying. So I've started answering in strange ways. You know the drill, pretending you're from a Denny's in New Mexico, pretending to be a scammer, etc. No harm done, right? Well, just a few minutes ago, I got a call from an unknown number. I thought it was the car people. So I answered, in my best peppy receptionist voice. This is Jimmy's Euthanasia Clinic and Buffet, where yesterday's loss goes in the sauce. How may I help you today? There was a long pause. After a few seconds, I said, just kidding. This is, my name / who is this? A few shuffling noises came from the other end, then silence. I hung up. About 30 seconds later, I got a call from the same number. I said hello like a normal human being, and the caller introduced himself. It was the tech guy from my school. He was calling to follow up on a very professional, respectful email I sent him a few months ago about school-issued computers. Yikes. Too long didn't read. I answered what I thought was a spam call and said something stupid. It was from someone at my school. / a few shuffling noises came from the other end, then silence. I hung up. Oh, you made some IT guy out there have a fantastic day. I hope that my legacy makes it as a tale told over Thanksgiving dinner. I did the same exact thing a few years ago to a potential client. My line was, this is Burger King, home of the Whopper, what's your fucking beef? Thanks for calling Jimmy's Deli. Can't beat Jimmy's meat. But did he bring up the previous call, or did that person know right out of the situation and pass it up the food chain? As someone who worked in a call center for a bit, you always remember the weird ones, so he'll be telling that story for ages. I did something like this once. SiriusXM had been calling me every day for weeks, even after I had politely asked them to stop calling several times. If you've ever dealt with them, you know they're the worst about this. So one day, I got a call from an unknown number and decided I would answer in my politest, highest pitched voice, then switched to yelling at them to stop calling me. Before I could yell at them, I figured out the person on the line was calling to ask me about a job application I had put in. I spent the next few minutes of the conversation slowly dialing down the pitch of my voice to my very deep, normal voice. But it actually worked, because I did get the job. My wife still makes fun of me about it though. Today I fucked up by going on a rant about how guys always struggled with taking off my bra. It wasn't today, it was a while ago when you could have parties. I was throwing a party at my house. Not even a party. A small gathering of maybe 10 to 15 people. Everyone was having a good time and I was ranting, loudly, to my friend about how so many guys had struggled to take my bra off. I don't have huge breasts. I wear a standard 2-clasp bra, so I was annoyed when guys fumbled around with it. Sometimes they couldn't even get it off and I had to take it off. Then I decided I needed to try it myself, so I yelled, John, come here. Let me put a bra on you so I can take it off and see how hard it is. I ran upstairs to get one of my nicer bras that I usually wear on dates and put it on him. I struggled for a while and then realized it was a lot harder than it seems, especially since I'm doing it at a different angle. I had to eat crow, and now I'm fully impressed when a guy can get my bra off with one hand, or even at all. And don't mind when guys can't get it off and I have to do it myself because that shit is hard AF. TL, doctor bitched about guys not being able to take my bra off. Put my bra on someone to show how easy it was to get off and failed to do it. I'm a guy and I can only take a woman's bra off without looking, and one-handed, left. I'm right-handed. If I look at what I'm doing, I fail. If I use my right hand, I fail. If I use two hands, I fail. If I use the seemingly most difficult combination of those options, I succeed. IDK. Removing my wife's bra is a literal snap. 2 clips, piece of cake. 3 clips. 50-50 a snap works first time. The overlapped fabric of the clips goes between thumb and middle finger. Now just snap your fingers. Ladies hate this simple trick. IDK what age guys you are talking about, but teenage boys in heat can struggle with getting their own clothes off. I once fell over taking my pants off and got a nasty bruise. Fully grown people in long-term committed relationships can still struggle getting their own clothes off in the heat of the moment. Only difference is, you just laugh about it and keep on keeping on. Best thing about working in emergency medicine, you learn the one-handed technique. Ever since, never met a bra I couldn't unclip in less than a half second. Dang, you actually take the time? When I was a first responder, scissors were always first choice, regardless of piece of clothing or gender. My husband can deal with the back clasps, but the front clasps confuse the shit out of him. He still can't get them. He loves the front zipping sports bras though. One of my exes wouldn't let me give up and had me puzzled for a solid 5 minutes trying to open a front clasp bra. I am usually very good as puzzles, but that thing, it scares me. Today I fucked up for telling my dad it's time to euthanize him. Little backstory, I live in Belgium where we have fairly solid euthanasia laws. Without knowing all the details, it basically requires a lot of paperwork and a couple of signatures, in our case my sister and myself, and a third witness, and all this needs to be renewed every 5 years. It's basically a will/permission that gives my sister and I the authority to decide in his name, i.e. respect his wishes, if he is no longer able to himself. Last June he had a stroke at age 77 and has since mostly recovered. Accordingly we discovered that the paperwork needed to be renewed around this time of the year. My sister is the principal contact on the paperwork and as such she was going to take care of it, like she has always done before. She is a school teacher and this morning the schools are opening again, so the past weeks have been a bit hectic for her. Last night I went to bed around 3 AM and this morning shortly after 8 AM. While still sleeping, I get a call from a city clerk. The paperwork was still missing the signature of my dad, and apparently she had been trying to contact my sister to no avail. So she reached out to me before it expires and gave me an appointment in about 2 hours from now. My dad recently became my neighbor, and is usually already awake this time of the day sitting in his office. So still somewhat sleeping I put on pants and walk over to his house. Oddly enough he is still sleeping so I wake him up, which requires specialized skills. What? Wake up dad, huh? Oh it's you? What they called for your euthanasia, we need to be there at 11h15, him still not fully awake. He looks totally bemused at me, sits on the bedside for a couple of seconds and gives me this look of utter defeat and says, well shit, that's fast. To which I say, well we still have more than 3 hours, so no rush, I'll pick you up around 11, see ya. He mumbles totally disappointed, 3 hours and you gonna leave me alone? At which point my penny drops, technically speaking eurocent, you stay in the car, I pick up the paperwork, you sign it, I return it and we are good again for 5 years. Turns out my sis forgot something. Never seen him being more relieved before in my life. Turns out he had been dreaming about it in some way or form and me putting it like that made it all a little bit too realistic for him. Too long didn't read. While being sleep drunk I woke up my dad and told him we get to do his euthanasia later this morning. He took it a bit too literal. Edit 1. It is my dad his own decision that he wants to be euthanized if he ever ends up in a situation where he has to live in a vegetative state with zero quality of life. He talked about this extensively with his doctor, with the family, friends. At first I wasn't very happy to sign that paper, but in the end it's his choice. And respecting his wish is important to me. There is a whole process involved. First off, all the paperwork which can be seen as his will/testament. Second off, if God forbid he ever ends up in such a situation, there is another legal process we'll have to go through before it can happen. Third off, there is no way whatsoever that me or anyone who signed that document can enforce anything while he is still mentally sound. Edit 2. When this conversation took place my dad was somewhere in the middle between sleeping, dreaming and waking up. And I wasn't fully awake yet either, or else I'd have just told him they called for your euthanasia paperwork, it's missing a signature, we need to be there at 11h15. It's as simple as me failing to form a coherent sentence, not fully awake yet, towards my dad who is still in la 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 land. Some of these comments are batshit crazy. Ha! Comedy is tragedy. Also, this law was changed. The exact date of application hasn't been set yet, but the 5-year period will no longer apply. So you'll only have to wake your dad up for his euthanasia one more time. LOL, I see what you did there. And you are correct, the paperwork I got today does not need to be renewed. It stays valid till whenever. Which makes sense because I recall my mom, her paperwork was expired when she was diagnosed with young dementia. Despite her wishes, she was a strong advocate back in the day to legalize euthanasia, and it made her go through 6 to 7 more years of being in a mental state she never wanted to be in. Lol, I like how he just accepted it. My time has come, I guess. Him, your time has come. Dad, was I a good dad? Him, you were the best. Dad, you know, you kinda remind me of my son. Him, come now, come now. Well shit, that's fast. I died. Is Op your paperwork holder as well? Tragically slightly funny. I found it hilarious, so did he, an hour later. Wow, he seemed pretty chill with the idea of his son having him put down in 3 hours. That's the end game of life. You just have to accept everything until you're dead.